Hey, it's Liz D'Alto, and this is the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. From body image, sex, spirituality, money and relationships, to motherhood, creativity, business, communication, and desire, Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is the place to come for real stories and powerful advice to help you reclaim and redefine womanhood in the 21st century. Elizabeth D'Alto here, your host for the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast, with a quick announcement before we dive into today's episode. The book is officially out. So many of you I know have already downloaded it, already left reviews, already shared all over social media. So a quick thank you so much. It is no longer available for free on Amazon unless you have Kindle Unlimited, but it's only $2.99. So go ahead and download the book if you haven't already. And I have another exciting announcement to go with that. Over the course of the month of December, I am taking applications and doing interviews for a 6-month mentorship called the Untame Yourself Women's Leadership Council. That'll take place from January to June in 2016. So if that is something that you might be interested in, head on over to untameyourself.com/mentorship and fill out an application. This is for women who just want 2016 to not just be the best year of their lives, but to really hunker down in 4 main areas: your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your spirituality. If you're someone who listens to this podcast and you have questions, you want to go deeper, you've been feeling called or pulled in some way, shape, or form to not just listen to other people's stories, but actually create your own success stories, starting now, right? No longer waiting. Go ahead and fill out that application. If you have any questions, you can email us at hello@wildsoulmovement.com. And I look forward to seeing who comes together for this group in 2016. On to today's show. Elizabeth D'Alto here, your host for the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. And our guest today is Kelly McNelis Senegor. This is a woman who is one of the most kind, generous people I've ever met in my life. In the summer of 2014, when I was traveling through the Pacific Northwest, she had invited me for an interview on her website, which is called Women for One, this gorgeous, amazing website designed to help women commune and share their stories for empowerment of women all over the world. And I was like, oh, I happen to be passing through. She lives in Washington State. I was going to be in Seattle. She Ubered me to and from her house, took me out to lunch, had a professional video crew. It was such a beautiful experience. But, you know, being treated that way was lovely. But it was more just like connecting with someone who's such a huge heart and cares so much. That was a much more amazing part of the experience. So I'm super excited to introduce you and have Kelly here today. So Kelly, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you. I always love talking to you.
Thank you. So the first question I ask every woman is, what do you love about being a woman?
Oh, I love that question, especially because it's in the title of my movement, Women for One. I love being a woman for many reasons. I would say one of the most important things is being a mother and being able to be that nurturing mother. I have a lot of children. I have 3 kids, 3 stepkids, and just to be able to connect with that sisterhood is so unique for me. With my friends or my sisters, I grew up as an only child, and my friends became my sisters when I was little, and they're still my sisters. And it's just this special bond. And I would say the most important thing is that feminine nature, that creative aspect. I love moving into my feminine and being that woman that can create life, can create anything they want in their lives and manifest it. So I think that's why I love being a woman.
Oh, let's talk a little bit more about sisterhood. So something that's come up lately in a few conversations, I think one of them was on the podcast, but a couple offline for sure with my own girlfriends, is the idea of a lot of women find it hard to connect with other women because it's been their experience, whether it was in childhood or even like growing up through like teens, college, going into the workforce, that they can't trust other women, or that they're really like their biggest bullies are actually other women. And whether that's because they like the same guy at some point, or because one woman is perceived to be more beautiful than the others, you know, all these things. So 2 parts to the question. Have you or do you encounter that? And how do you navigate that stuff? Or what kind of advice do you have for women who don't feel connected in sisterhood?
You know, that's such a great question. And we just had something come up on the site just in the past month. So it's a perfect question,
Cool.
Perfectly aligned with what's going on at Women for One. So at our community, we share our stories. We encourage women from all over the world to really have a lot of courage to share their truth and lessons they've been through, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So an example, it's not a personal example, but on Women for One, a woman shared that she was the other woman for 10 years with a married man. And she shared her struggles with it. She shared her pain. She shared her mistakes. She shared what she learned and lessons, and she got attacked by a lot of women.
As soon as you said that, I knew that was coming. I bet in the comments she got torn up.
She got torn up. And at Women for One, I really encourage, and my whole team and I, we encourage dialogue, you know, but it has to be respectful.
Yeah.
And in the 5 years Women for One has been around, I've never like written a letter to the community, and I did. I felt fiercely protective of this woman because it took a lot of courage for her. We all screw up, okay?
Totally.
We all screw up. And she learned from her lessons. She was sharing it so other women and the other woman and women that have been betrayed would understand. And I think we need to encourage that dialogue, and that's what we do at Women for One. So I've seen it on that level, and I've seen it on personal levels where women feel threatened or judged. But what I really feel like it's all about is personal judgment, self-judgment, and the non-confidence and the non-self-esteem in a person when they get that way. And also, like, for example, for me, I was wounded by men when I was younger. I'm an incest survivor. I've had lots of issues with men. Women, I always see the good when I first meet them. And men, they have to earn their trust with me. So I think it all comes from our stories too. Yeah. So the advice I would give was just to be aware of what story you're telling yourself about the women that you encounter and what kind of transference and projection you're doing on them from your past and your belief systems around who and what they are.
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. It gave me chills. And, you know, for people who listen to or watch the podcast, you guys know I filter and I feel everything through my body. So sometimes, you know, people who watch the video probably see me like shaking, stirring, closing my eyes and things all the time because I'm a total weirdo. But I got chills when you were saying that because it is so true. And everything is really, there's this Anais Nin quote that I quote like ad nauseum practically. It's, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. And so it's just so true. And it's never not true that the things that you're seeing in others exist in you. And that's like the good and the bad, right? So when we see someone that's like gorgeous and amazing, we're like, oh my God, great. You couldn't see it if you weren't it, you know?
Right.
I did an interview the other day where someone shared this, and I don't know how I'd never heard this before. He said, if you spot it, you got it. I was like, yes.
Oh, I love that.
Clever. Take it and run with it. My friend Jordan Gray said that. So
I love it.
Yeah, and so in my own life, I've experienced, even the last several months, opening myself up to receive the amount of support that I actually need to be able to do the work that I do in the world, which I'm sure you can relate to. And whether that's in many different ways, whether that's being a mom with 6 children now combined, or whether that's running a business like you run and holding that container for so many women, we need support. We just can't do stuff by ourselves. So, do you run into that at all in terms of not just like the friendship and the sisterhood, but actually letting people support you? Is that easy for you, or have you had to?
It's funny you asked that because it's been a theme of mine this past year. I mean, for 4 years, I just went, and with children and with this business, and it's all very exciting. And you think, no, I like doing it, but liking doing something and it being stressful can be the same thing.
Yes.
It can be very draining.
Yeah.
And my adrenals were shot. I went to my naturopath. My adrenals were like, "You're done. Like you need to allow." And the feminine is about receiving, right?
Yes.
And receiving. So it's been interesting. This past year, I've allowed these beautiful friendships of women that are giving. I've always been the giver, you know, and now I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to allow myself to be taken care of. And I think when we do that, we feel like we deserve it. We have to get to that point where we feel like we deserve to receive and be that feminine to get it. You got to know. What did you say? What was your phrase again?
If you spot it, you got it.
Yeah, if you spot it.
So tell me about the space in between feeling like you deserved it and not feeling like you deserved it. Was that a journey for you?
It was a crash and burn. I'm
Oh,
a crash
okay.
and burn kind of girl.
We got to learn the way we got to learn.
Yeah, some people gradually do it, and I'm either I'm an extreme, and my goal in life is balance. And so it was a crash and burn last year. I was like, okay, I'm going in, I'm creating a new website, I'm going in and being with my family, I'm going in and taking care of my body, and I really had to do an inventory of my life. And it took a whole year to get back to a place where I feel more balanced after the crash and burn.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. And thank you for giving yourself that recovery time. I think that's something that our culture does not honor, celebrate, or even really talk about. That in between big events in our life, we need to integrate, we need to rest, and we need to recover often before we can move on to the next thing and be fully present for that. I think our culture asks us all the time to just like go, 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 on to the next thing, on to the next thing, without honoring or closing out the current thing or the thing that we just wrapped up.
Right. Right. And it just happened. I was just in Boulder this week, and it just happened. My coach said, Kelly, your assignment is for the next 3 weeks or month or 6 months. She wants me to do it every weekend. Close your computer on Friday and do not open it until Monday, because it's just my personality. It's that busyness, and it's a distraction, and it's a non-nurturing of self.
It's so non-nurturing, and I'm with you. And I go through phases with this where I'll be so good at not doing something, for example, like checking my phone first thing when I wake up, but rather giving to myself first and then going to my phone. And the same thing on the weekends. And something I tell myself is related to what you said that I actually just wrote down. You can like something and it can be stressful at the same time. So my thing is, but I love working. I love what I do. But really, I'm going to show up better if I also nurture myself in between.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's breathing.
It's breathing.
It's being present. And I mean, really, I just got a puppy 6 months ago, and I know that's just a very simple thing. He has changed my life. The interaction with a baby or a puppy or something new to life that brings you into the present moment, whatever it is, it can be anything in your life that will bring you to the present moment, something new you do that gets your mind out of the way and allows you to just be. Because that's all we're here to do, is to have joy and be. That's what I believe.
Yes. So what do you do now in your pursuit of balance and in your achievement of balance to nurture yourself? So what does that look like? If you were to close the laptop on Friday evening and not open it up again until Monday morning, what would you then do all weekend?
I actually did it 2 weeks ago. It was heaven. I did kickboxing because that just invigorates me. I took my dog for a hike.
So wait, like air kickboxing, or like you
With a
actually
bag.
hit some? Yeah.
With a bag.
Oh, me too. I love that.
I love it.
Love it.
And just got into it a couple months ago. It's great for me. And I go on a hike. I putter around the house. It feels so good. I love that nesting. I do that.
Yeah.
With just music on.
Yeah.
And I love to cook. So, I mean, I like to still be active and do things, but just do things that breathe life into me. So I found things I loved.
That's so great because, again, like as women, for the most part, we're not necessarily designed for stillness. Most of us, it's just not our thing. And so to be filling the space and the activity, again, like you said, with things that you love to nourish. Talk to me. This is just for fun. I love cooking too. Have you ever taken any cooking classes? Do you just wing it? Do you have cookbooks? What's that like?
Well, it's kind of funny because my friends and my husband is like the opposite of me around cooking. And we actually have decided we can't be in the kitchen together anymore because I'm a creator, right? So the book I'm writing is called The Messy Truth. I am the messiest cooker in the world. Like, and I just like take all the crap out and I'm like, oh, little this, little that, little that. Yeah. And that's how my life is.
Yes.
You know, just kind of go for it and see what happens.
Yes.
It's like, it's a metaphor. You could write a book on how I cook. That is my life.
Well, it's that saying, right? How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look into my purse. It's messy, but guess what? I have the tampon when you need it.
So you're a messy cook, and what is your husband more meticulous? Like he wants to follow the recipe, only get what he needs out.
Yes, and he's not only that. When he tries to be my sous chef, he's like, he needs to understand. He was like a CIO, CEO type, so he needs to understand the end result. I'm like, there are no end result. This is the journey, baby. So,
We talk about the difference and the balance and the integration of masculine and feminine on this show a lot. And I love that. That's just like the acting out of it. And I'll share something else with you. So as I do, I batch these interviews. So the month of November this year, so this will be airing after November. It will have already happened. The month of November, I'm doing a man month. So Manvember, I'm affectionately calling it. And it's funny to me how, for the most part, of all the women I've interviewed, which at this point is 40 plus, just for this, not to mention other things I used to do, most women don't ask me very many questions. Like, do you need to do anything? Do I need to prepare anything? I have to tell you, most of the dudes want like an outline, like what questions I'm going to ask, like that structure. They're like, what do I need? And I'm like, it's cool. Like, you're good. I got you. Just show up.
I got you.
We're just going to have a conversation. It's totally safe. But but at the same time, I love that about men, and I love that about my own masculine side, that structure, so I could be as wild as I want when I'm in my feminine, but it's a container for the situation.
You can still get shit done.
I can still get shit done. So it's not just a mess. Like, the mess does eventually have some kind of outcome, even though we might not know what it is until we get to the end of that road.
No, I had a business partner for a while, and she was very organized, and she'd come into my office, she's like, how do you get anything done? I'm like, I do. I get a lot done.
I get a lot done. It's funny. I have a very similar dynamic with my partner. So let me ask you a relationship question then. How do you navigate? What's that like for you to navigate those conflicts when it's just like, hey, you're the way you are, I'm the way I am, I super love you, and what happens in that space between?
Well, the first word I heard was, in my former marriage, this is a new marriage for me, 6 years. We've been married. We've been together 8, and that feels newer to me. The first word I heard was codependence, because I was so codependent with my ex-husband and with my mother. And the one thing I love about my husband and I is that we're very independent people. We're very whole ourselves.
Yes.
And so what he does doesn't define me. Yes. And I think that's really an important lesson I learned in my life, that he can go do his stuff. And I see some women and men going, don't be like that, and trying to be controlling of their partner. And it's like, I didn't quite understand it, because I used to be like that. But now I'm like, you do your thing. That doesn't define who I am. So
and how much easier does that make your life, by the way, to not be attached to what the other person is doing all the time?
It's so awesome. It's
freedom. It's ultimate freedom.
Yeah, because you're not defined by them. What are you trying to control them for?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one way.
Do me a favor. For anyone who may not have a complete understanding of what codependent means, can you explain it?
My whole life has been codependent. So it's when you define yourself through any kind of relationship, through the other person, is the way I look at it. And that could be in a way of caretaking. It could be looked at as nurturing, but it's not. It's not nurturing. It feels very dysfunctional to me, because your feelings and emotions are dependent on that other person,
right, or
the relationship and where it is, instead of, oh, they're in a really crappy mood today. Okay. How nice is that, instead of, they shouldn't be that way and that's affecting me, and going into blame. It's just...
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. So my partner and I recently were having a conversation about that I never, it's like a double meaning. It's like, I never let my partner do anything. And, people might hear that and think it sounds very controlling, but what we actually mean is, because it's not my choice. Like, my partner doesn't have to ask me if they could do something, like, that's just not even a conversation we have. But like you said, it's just the opposite of codependent.
Right.
And it just feels good. And every once in a while, of course, there's conversations out of consideration, just to be like, hey, this is what I want to do. I just want to run it by you, just in case there's any conflicts, or just like anything I don't know about. And then we get to have a conversation if there is. But as opposed to, I'm sure, well, like you said, if you've had this experience, and I work with a lot of women too, who like, oh, that word let, like, my husband won't let me, or I won't let him, or that feels like a not good place to be.
Absolutely. It feels very, it just feels unhappy and very powerless. That's the word I was looking for, the powerlessness that you feel in that.
Yeah, totally, because it's in a way, energetically and like physically in the real world, needing permission outside of yourself.
Yes, and I also think going from codependency to being more independent and full and whole felt very uncomfortable for me for
Yeah.
many years. I actually used to equate codependency with intimacy, which I feel like a lot of people do. And so when you're out of it, sometimes I'd be like, I'm alone. Like, I don't feel loved. I mean, my codependent nature would come up. And then the red flag for me was when I was blaming someone else
Yes.
for my own feelings. And I go, wait a minute, I'm full and whole all by myself. I don't need to put that on him. And as soon as that, I could kind of turn back in and feel whole again.
Yeah. Oh, so this is great. So it was recently, at the time of this recording, it was just my birthday a few days ago. And
happy birthday.
Thank you. So my partner, Mike, grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't celebrate things. They don't celebrate birthdays. They don't celebrate holidays. So celebrating events like this isn't just something he ever really did his entire life. So it's not important to him. And I love birthdays. But so I was saying to him, I'm like, hey, just so like we're clear, I just want to not have any kind of expectation. Are we doing anything to celebrate my birthday? Should I expect anything from you? Not? Because and he's like, for now, he felt bad saying it, but it was his truth. And I was so happy and proud that he wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. He's like, just, don't expect anything. And I was like, great. And he's like, I feel so shitty about that. And I'm like, don't. Because here's the thing. If I need something from you on my birthday to feel happy or to feel good about myself, not even I'll ask, but that's actually my problem. That's not your problem. Oh, it is your problem. And then the other thing is this, a couple days before that, I was actually having like this breakdown, and he was like on the ground with me as I was like sobbing, and he was holding me, and I'm like, here's the deal. Like, I need a man who's going to get down on the ground with me when I need to sob. Like, that means way more to me than someone who's like a gift giver. And you're probably familiar with the 5 love languages. Gift giving is not one of mine. So that works for me. It might not work for other people listening, but I'm like, the value you bring me is so above and beyond like a present, on a day that is like, it just doesn't matter. But even for me, that felt like an accomplishment because, even 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know that I would have felt that way. I think I probably would have taken it personally or would have like been upset or secretly upset about it,
That's so awesome that you honored him like that.
And that felt good too, right? To be like, hey, all right, what am I going to do? And I could choose. It's like you said, right? I could choose blame. I could choose to attach my feelings to that person's stuff. Or I could just go, all right, no big deal. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, great. So under the topic of Untamed the Wild Soul Woman, I don't always ask people this, but I feel like asking you today. Wild means something different to everybody. For me, when I think about wild, I just think about connecting to your true nature, which means it's going to be different for every single woman. So what's your wild? What feels like the true you when you kind of like tap into that energy?
That's a great question. It has so changed. I'm going to be 47 this month, and even a year ago, that would be different, or 10 years ago, or the good little girl in my 20s. I mean, I'm such a different person, and I'm really tapping into the eroticism these days, the wild nature to really ground myself into my own truth and my sensuality.
Yeah.
Is new for me. And it's taken this many years to kind of come into that space for myself. I went and did a retreat in Hawaii with Sheila Kelly.
Yes. Yes. I think we talked about that.
Well, I had gone to a small one, but then I went to the real one.
Cool.
And it changed my life because being able to be connected with your erotic creature inside and find that powerful, wild woman, I don't think I've ever felt more powerful and in my body and grounded in my whole life. So that's why I love what you do.
Thank you. So if anyone listening doesn't know who Sheila Kelly is, she's an actress, but she also founded S Factor, which is the original pole dancing studio. So there's a lot of pole fitness and classes and stuff like that out now, but S Factor was the original one. And I actually took a couple of, I forget what they call them, sessions or whatever levels of S Factor when I lived in New York City. And so beautiful. And I've heard Sheila speak too. And God, she's so just magnetic in her messaging around like the importance. And I love that she calls it your erotic creature. And S, I think it has a lot of meanings.
It's your body, right?
It's that shape of your body. It's your sensuality. And that's one of the things, like even some of my movements and Wild Soul Movement are inspired by S Factor, that juicy warm up that you do before you actually do the dancing and you get on the pole. It's so amazing. And I love what she does in the realm of taking something taboo that our culture has like not good association with, like dancing on a pole, and going, no, 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 no. This experience gets to be for you. In the
For
context
you.
of for you, it's completely beautiful and empowering versus creating an experience for somebody else using your body or using your sensuality. Oh, I love that you did that. Tell me about her retreat. What was that like?
It was phenomenal. It almost felt like they were doing from 6 in the morning to 11 at night every day so that your brain could get out of the way because you were so tired and your body was so physically tired. But there was this element of surrender that came over me the last 2 days. And then at the end, they had like an event where you got up and you stripped in front of all the sisterhood.
Oh, God. How many women were there?
Like over 100, 120.
Shut up.
No, I'm not kidding. And she was cute because she's like, where's our babies? And I was one of the babies, and I loved being the baby. I was like, I am a baby here.
Baby meaning just like new to it?
New to it. I was like, I'm a baby. So she let all the babies dance together. So we all got to...
I love that. And you must have bonded with the other babies, right?
Oh, we bonded. And I mean, I cried, and I just felt all of the repression I've had all my life around my sexuality and the wounding all at once, and it just released. It was amazing.
It just feels so good to listen to. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I love that. This is something that's come up a lot in these other interviews too, because the work I do is it's my flavor of work that other women are doing very similarly, and they do it in their flavor. And I just feel like the more the merrier. Let's continue as many women as possible that want to share about how to feel empowered and how to connect to yourself and how to love yourself and accept yourself and exist in this culture that still is very not wanting women to be that way.
And what I love about you and Sheila is that you're all about the experience of the body and really, really embodying this experience in our bodies. It's not just in your head listening to someone or reading a book. It's about the experience.
Yeah, and if you don't mind getting into something sensitive, and you're welcome to say no if it doesn't feel good. But being a survivor of incest, like I've worked with lots of women with sexual trauma in their history, and that separation from the body just like happens,
right?
Obviously, because it was a survival mechanism at that point. But other than S Factor, what have been some of the ways that you've found your way back to being able to connect and have a relationship with your body in spite of that experience?
Well, the first word I hear is safety, and really beginning to feel safe with me and my own body. Accepting my body as it is a big one for me. My body image has been an issue for me my whole life. And feeling safe with my husband, my partner has really, really helped me, because I've noticed these days when I'm talking to friends very freely, I'm like, yeah, I like that guy and I like that. Just any man. I would always go right into judgment. I was one of the women that judges didn't feel safe with women, with a man. And now I'm like, oh, I really love this guy and I really love this guy. And my friend the other day reflected, you're really liking men these days. And I was like, I'm getting safer with myself. I've also done a lot of therapy. I've revisited the trauma. I mean, I've done a lot of different modalities to get to the place, but I think it's all about creating safety in my own body and being present to myself.
And so one of the things, this comes up a lot too, I work with a lot of women who have done lots of therapy and who have done lots of modalities, and then they come to me and it's almost like pretty quickly the result we get. And they're like, man, I can't believe, like, I've done so much therapy and this is having such a more profound impact. And I feel like they go hand in hand. More than likely, because someone has done so much therapy, they're like open and available and ready to receive the type of work that I do. And I would love your opinion on this. I think a lot of therapy, traditional therapy, is a bit more about talking and doesn't have that embodiment piece. Is that true for you? Like your experience with S Factor? Like,
yes, and what happened was, it's like you have to walk through the fire on some level. I had done a lot of head therapy, and a lot of even energetic healing. I had done, and then when I hit S Factor, every cell in my body wanted to run every minute I was at Sheila Kelly. I couldn't even describe it. And I also, on the same level, was very patient with myself. And I think a lot of women push through this stuff. I would be like, I'm out. And I'd go up to my instructor, I'd be like, that's all I can take today. I got to go watch a movie in the room. And she's like, that's fine, go. Because we have to know, we have to be in touch with what we can handle.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people push themselves to heal, and it's like healing is a journey of a lifetime. It's not,
And especially when you're healing from something traumatic, because it's super possible to reopen a wound and not know that that's what you've done. So to not have any awareness around when that's happened or when you've gone beyond your limit, so that then you can take care of yourself like you did, being like, that's it. I'm at my limit for today. It's really important to have that awareness. Like, even you hear this from people in like a yoga class. The body stores these wounds and these memories. And depending on what happened and where, like in a yoga class, this has happened to me so many times. We store so much emotion in our hips. So I'll be in like a pigeon pose and all of a sudden I'm sobbing and I don't even know why. And I just go with it, right? Like I don't even need to know why.
You don't need to know.
Just like you didn't need to know why you were at your limit. You didn't have to name it. You didn't have to talk about it. You didn't have to analyze it. All you needed to know is I'm at and I'm good and I got to take care of myself. Because that right there is the reprogramming, right? You're reprogramming your system to know, I got you. Like, I'm going to take care of you.
And you're safe, and I'm going to take care of you. And also the word integration you brought up earlier. You got to have time to integrate when you're learning this.
Yes.
If you don't give yourself a break, we got to give ourselves a break. That's the way I looked at it.
I see this all the time, and it's so dangerous in more like spiritual, personal development communities. People almost get addicted to the high of therapy or an experience or of healing. It's like that feeling you get while you're in it. I even have friends who do a lot of like psychedelics to have these experiences, and it's like, and then it just becomes like the space between the next experience is like kind of miserable, and it's almost like, what's the point? Why are you doing all of this if you don't actually feel better when you're not in those experiences?
Right. Right. And it goes in and out too, right? I mean, I come home sometimes from things and I'm still shut down. And it's all about the non-judgment. It's like, okay, I'm shut down today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to be closed off today.
It's okay. I'm just going to feel safe enough to just, because I feel safe with my partner and he doesn't push me. He's very understanding.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a beautiful thing. And, if you're listening, whether it's your partner or whether it's just like one other person in your life who's going to give you that space, right? Who you could be like, yo, I'm just pissed off today and I'm a bitch today and I'm just going to ride it out. And hopefully I'm not going to offend anyone, but I'm not going to try not to feel how I'm feeling.
I had a day like that 2 weeks ago and I went, everything was going wrong. It was a weird day. And I went, I'm going to my bed. I'm out.
I'm just putting myself in timeout.
I'm going to sit because I don't want to go out and cause any more havoc in the world.
This is way back. It was like maybe episode number 4 in the beginning of the podcast was a dear friend of mine, Dr. Deb Kern, who, by the way, I think you would love. I think you would adore her. She talked about, protecting our energy. Often we think that we need to protect our energy from others, but she's like, it's a two-way street, honey. Like, sometimes we need to put ourselves in a bubble so we can protect other people from us too.
I would tell you, my team is like, go.
Out.
Go to time.
Go to time out. And it's good that you honor that, and there's nothing wrong, right? Because I feel like a lot of women might be self-conscious or like, I shouldn't, probably this, right? I shouldn't be this way. Mm-hmm. But of course, you should be however you are in whatever moment.
That's right.
It's great. Tell me more about being a mom with a blended family. What was that transition or adjustment like?
That was really, really beautiful and intense and messy and glorious, and it's still magnificent. And there's times where I hate it, and there's times I love it. We all went to Europe this summer. I have ages 15 to 21, 6 children. Boom, boom, boom. And it's an experience. That's all. It's a hard one to describe in words.
Talk about the beauty of it. Because something I hear a lot, and I don't have kids, but something I hear a lot. Like I remember my Aunt Nancy. My Aunt Nancy is my mom's youngest sister, And so I grew up like thinking my Aunt Nancy was just like the coolest lady in the world because she was the younger one. And also when you're a kid, any adult that isn't your parent is automatically really cool. And I just remember like a lot of things about my aunt that she wasn't okay with. But then once she had her own kid, she was like, it's just different when it's your own kid. So what's the experience of now having a kid that technically isn't yours, but is?
Right. It is a very different, I have a very different and unique relationship with my stepchildren. My husband and I agreed at the very beginning. First of all, we are so different, and our children are like extremely different. My children are creative and communicative. His children are very time-oriented, overachieving. It's like masculine, feminine. It's fascinating. So to blend that, there's a lot of chance to learn and grow. There's a lot of chance for conflict. And we try to gear them towards, look, let's learn. There are different people in the world, and you got to get used to them. So here they are in your house.
Cool. What a great training ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. and my husband and I made a decision early on. I mean, we met them when my daughter was 3 when I met my husband, and his youngest was 8. And we decided that because they have parents that are very involved with their lives, the other parent, because we have amicable relationships, that we were not going to be the disciplinarian for our stepchildren.
Cool.
So we just made it really clear that we're their friend and support, and that when they're in my house, my kids, I discipline them, and he's the support, and vice versa. And it's really worked out well because it's a really challenging space to be a disciplinarian with a stepkid for me.
Yeah, yeah. How beautiful. And just what a great boundary to set, an agreement to make, to be like, you know what? This actually feels really good. I bet you've avoided so much conflict simply because of that one choice.
Yep.
So it's really cool. And it sounds like you guys just felt into what was going to be best for your situation.
It's very different for every situation, but it worked for us.
So here's a question. Are there any, did you find any great support? Like, did you even reach out for support on like how to be a stepmom? Any good resources for that? Or?
It's been 8 years. I'm sure I grabbed a book or two because I always do that and went online. But I really just kind of tried to be present with who these kids were and get to know them because I worked with children my whole life, and it's not a cookie cutter thing. You can't figure it out except developing a trust and relationship with your stepkids. So that's where I am now. I try to just be like the big sister, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, that does make sense. Thank you for answering that. So under, again, our topic of untaming the wild soul woman, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wished I would have, or anything else that you want to add that you didn't get to share yet?
I keep hearing these words to say, so I just want to ask your whole community to ask themselves daily, because I'm committing to doing it, what sparks joy for you in your life? Because I think we don't ask ourselves that enough. What sparks joy? It really helps me stay in the present moment with the busyness of my life to answer it. And every day it's different.
So I have a question. How would you, and I don't care about like dictionary definitions, how do you define the difference between joy and happiness?
Joy is a kinesthetic feeling for me. It's all over my body. It's a clearing of the mind and like a breathing out in the feminine. It's like, it's just, you just feel like kind of you got chills. Like I know when I'm joyful. It's very different than happy. Happy is an emotion. Joy is more of like a feeling all over my body.
So like the full body experience versus that fleeting emotion that could pass in like 90 seconds.
Right.
Cool. I love
fun.
talking to you. It just feels so great. It makes me wish I lived closer up there and I could be in like your little circle of women that you go to S Factor with. We'll have to plan more real life time. Thank you so much. And so anyone listening, the website is womenforone.com. And if I'm not mistaken, people can just submit if they have a story they want to share, right?
Yep.
So this is really beautiful and cathartic. If you're someone listening and there's a story, especially if you're not someone who is an entrepreneur or has a website or has a blog or is thinking about writing a book, but just something inside of you that you're dying to share in a safe, supportive place, womenforone.com is your place. So,
and you don't have to be a writer at all.
No, and also they could do it anonymously as well, correct?
Yes.
That's amazing. Like, healing. This is very healing to share your story and to know that you impact other people no matter what. So thank you for having that resource and being that resource. And if you're listening, go check it out. And whether you do it anonymously or by using your name, who knows? This could be an invitation to something that's quite healing or even life-changing for you. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll
I
talk
love
to
you.
you
You're
later.
awesome.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Sort of, I was in the sort of in the halo of 9/11. I was walking downtown in Soho. For those of you who don't know, that's southern Manhattan, south of Houston, and past a row of cardboard boxes that people were living in. And as I was walking past this box, this guy reaches his hand out, grabs my pant leg, and he really grabbed me, and he said, "What's going to be on your tombstone?"
Ooh.